I let out a long sigh, the kind that comes from deep down, stretching my arms above my head. The air in Ella's apartment felt different somehow, charged with a subtle energy. I blinked, still a little dazed from the second glass of wine, and looked up at her. She stood there, watching me with this quiet amusement in her eyes, and then reached for the top button of her blouse. "Well," she murmured, letting the soft fabric slide off her shoulders, a slow, knowing smile playing on her lips. "I suppose I shouldn't just sit and watch. If I didn't feel a real man's hands on me soon, I swear I might actually lose my mind." The words tumbled out before I could stop them, too raw, too desperate. But after 3 years of frustrating dates, 2 glasses of Pinot Grigio, and exactly 0 thrilling nights, I wasn't interested in pretending anymore. Ella choked on her sip of wine, then burst out laughing. "Damn, that bad?" I groaned, shifting in my seat. "Worse. My ex was, let's just say, not exactly exciting, and now I thought being single would be fun. Turns out, it's just a parade of bad dates and even worse options." Ella smirked, leaning back on the plush couch. "So, what's stopping you from just picking someone?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, sure. Let me just grab the nearest available guy and hope he's worth it." The truth was, I didn't want just anyone. I wanted to feel wanted again, truly desired. Ella studied me for a moment, her head tilted slightly, then exhaled softly through her nose, like she'd just made up her mind about something. "You know," she said slowly, a mischievous glint in her eyes, "I think I might have a solution." I narrowed my eyes, instantly suspicious. "If you're about to suggest some app full of creeps, I swear—" "Nope," she cut in smoothly, taking another slow sip of her wine. Then, with a smirk that sent a tiny shiver down my spine, she said it. "You should borrow my husband." Silence. I blinked, convinced I'd misheard her over the soft jazz playing in the background. "I'm sorry, what?" She shrugged, completely unfazed. "You heard me?" I stared at Ella, waiting for her to laugh, to smirk, anything to tell me this was some elaborate joke we'd cooked up after a few too many happy hour specials. But she just swirled the wine in her glass, looking utterly serious. "You heard me," she said again, her voice calm, casual, like she was offering me a spare sweater. I let out a nervous laugh, the sound a little shaky even to my own ears. "You can't be serious." "Why not?" Because that's your husband, Ella." I gestured vaguely, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. She shrugged again, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. I blinked at her, utterly bewildered. "Do I really have to explain why that's insane?" Ella leaned forward, her eyes glinting with amusement. "I think you're trying a little too hard to sound shocked, Avery. You weren't exactly offended by the idea, were you? Just surprised." "Obviously, I'm surprised." My voice came out a little higher than I intended. "Who says something like that?" "A good friend," she smirked. "One who actually cares about your suffering." I groaned, pressing a hand to my forehead. "You make it sound like I'm some tragic case." "You said it yourself. You're miserable." Ella tilted her head, studying me like she already knew the ending to this conversation. "And you deserve better." I swallowed, the idea still swirling in my head like the last bit of wine in my glass. "Even if I was crazy enough to consider this, which I'm absolutely not, what about him? Does Lucas even know you're saying this?" Ella's smirk widened, a playful, almost conspiratorial look in her eyes. "Oh, honey, do you really think I make offers like this without checking first?" A strange heat curled in my stomach, a sensation I couldn't quite decipher. "Wait, you mean he—" She took another slow sip of wine, savoring my reaction like it was the finest vintage. "I mentioned it to him earlier." She paused for dramatic effect, her eyes twinkling. "He didn't exactly complain." A pulse of something electric ran through me. I didn't know what I was expecting, maybe a horrified gasp from Ella, a quick retraction of the insane suggestion. But the idea that Lucas was already on board. Oh my God. Told you he's an incredible man, Ella grinned, leaning forward conspiratorially. And trust me, Avery, he knows how to take care of a woman. I'd never offer you anything less than the best. My mouth went dry. I set down my empty glass, suddenly feeling a little lightheaded. Ella sat forward, her voice dropping to something softer, smoother, more persuasive. So tell me the truth, Avery, she said, her gaze intense. If you weren't overthinking it, if you just let yourself feel what you want, would you say yes? I should have laughed. Should have changed the subject. Should have said a firm, resounding no. But the words caught in my throat, because deep down, a tiny, reckless part of me already knew the answer. Ella must have seen it in my face, in the way my breath hitched, the way my eyes flickered with a sudden, undeniable curiosity. She exhaled, a soft sound of satisfaction. Thought so? I forced myself to breathe, trying to ground myself in reality. This is insane, Ella. Utterly, completely insane. Maybe, she conceded, her eyes sparkling with a hint of mischief. But doesn't it sound exciting? I didn't respond, couldn't. My mind was racing, a chaotic mix of disbelief, apprehension, and a surprising surge of anticipation. Ella watched me closely, her finger hovering over her phone screen. Last chance, Avery. Tell me to stop and I will. No questions asked. Silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken possibilities. I parted my lips, ready to say something, anything to break the tension. But the words wouldn't come. A slow smile spread across Ella's face. She tapped the screen, a single message sent. A quiet ping echoed in the suddenly still room. She met my gaze, her eyes full of knowing amusement. He's on his way. It didn't take long for him to arrive. A soft knock echoed through Ella's apartment, and I felt my pulse hammer against my ribs. Ella let out a slow exhale beside me, a mixture of anticipation and something else I couldn't quite place. She stood, smoothing down her dress, a nervous energy radiating off her. I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. I managed a small nod, trying to appear calmer than I felt. Ella smiled, a knowing, almost expectant expression on her face, then walked towards the door. She opened it, and there he was, tall, confident, with an easygoing demeanor that seemed completely unshaken by the unusual circumstances. Ella smirked, a playful glint in her eyes. "You're early." Lucas stepped inside, his eyes immediately finding mine. It wasn't a rushed or obvious stare, but a slow, deliberate look that told me he knew exactly who I was, and more than that, he seemed interested. "You're even prettier than she said," he remarked, his voice a low, warm rumble that sent a strange flutter through my stomach. Ella laughed, looping an arm around his. "Told you." She gave him a slow, deliberate once-over. Nothing overt, nothing obvious, but I felt the unspoken communication between them. "So this is her," she confirmed, her eyes flicking back to me. His lips curved slightly, not quite a smirk, not a full smile, but an expression of quiet approval. He turned to me, extending a hand. "Avery, it's a pleasure." "Lucas," I managed, my voice barely a whisper as I took his hand. His grip was firm, warm, reassuring in a way I hadn't expected. Ella stepped back slightly. "Shall we?" she asked, her eyes dancing with a mixture of amusement and genuine warmth. My breath caught. This was it, the last moment to walk away, to pretend this whole conversation had never happened, to cling to the safety of the conventional. But the pull, the undeniable curiosity, the spark of something I hadn't felt in years, it was too strong. I didn't take that last chance. I didn't have to, because before I could even fully decide, Lucas reached for my other hand, his gaze steady on mine. And just like that, we went together. The moment the door shut behind us, the subtle shift in the atmosphere was palpable. His hands were on me, not in a forceful way, but with a certainty that sent a jolt through me. There was no hesitation, no slow build-up, no uncertainty, just raw heat. His mouth captured mine instantly, a deep, unrelenting kiss that sent a rush of sensation flooding through me. It was electric, breath-stealing, intoxicating. I melted into him, my body instinctively pressing against his as his hands roamed my back, firm, claiming, deliberate. I could hear Ella's soft laugh echo behind me. "Now that's better," she murmured, her voice rich with amusement. Then her hands glided over my shoulders, a delicate contrast to Lucas's firm grip. A shiver ran down my spine. I barely had time to react before she reached for the straps of my dress, slipping them down inch by inch. The warmth of his breath against my skin, the slow, teasing pressure of Ella's touch. I was completely surrounded, completely lost in it. And a part of me, the part I'd kept locked away for so long, didn't want it to stop. The dress pooled around my waist, and Ella exhaled softly, her voice a silky whisper against my ear. "You're stunning like this." His lips moved along my collarbone, deliberate, steady. "Still nervous, Avery?" Ella murmured, her fingers tracing a light pattern on my arm. I didn't answer, couldn't. Not when his hand settled on my waist, confident, guiding me backward. I sank onto the soft mattress of the nearby daybed, my breath uneven, my pulse hammering. He followed, moving with unshaken assurance, his presence filling every part of my awareness. Ella sighed, stepping away slightly. I barely registered it, not until I heard the soft rustle of fabric as she settled onto the couch nearby. "Go on, baby," she purred, her voice smooth and teasing. "Let her feel what I already know." A deep sound rumbled in his chest, a primal response that resonated through me. Then his touch drifted lower, trailing heat in its wake. My breath caught, a wave of sensation rolling through me, my body responding instinctively. His hands held me steady, firm yet measured, guiding me deeper into the moment. Ella hummed in approval, a low, contented sound. "Oh, sweetheart," she murmured, her fingers tracing along my arm, feather light but electric. "You should see yourself right now." Heat flushed through me. I should have been thinking, should have been analyzing the situation, but I wasn't. I was completely lost in it. His touch, his presence, the way Ella's voice sent a fresh thrill through me. Ella leaned forward slightly, her fingertips ghosting over my skin in slow, lazy circles. "See," she whispered, her voice a low purr. "I told you he was good." I barely heard her. I couldn't focus on anything but the slow, spiraling pleasure unraveling me. Ella sighed, stretching luxuriously before rising to her feet. The air shifted, the subtle energy in the room intensifying as she moved. I blinked up at her, still a little dazed, breathless. She watched me with that quiet amusement in her eyes, then reached for the first button of her blouse. "Well," she murmured, slipping the fabric from her shoulders, the soft material gliding down her arms in a slow, deliberate motion. She moved towards me, her steps unhurried, her presence undeniable. My breath came in short, unsteady gasps, my pulse still hammering beneath my skin. Her fingers found my arms, a feather-light trace from my shoulders down to my wrists, sending a new kind of thrill through me. "She's ready," Ella murmured, her voice a slow, knowing promise. Lucas exhaled deeply, his hands settling against my waist, steady and sure. The moment stretched, thick with unspoken understanding. I barely registered the way my fingers curled into his back, needing something to hold on to. Then everything shifted. A wave of sensation rolled through me, stealing the air from my lungs. Ella's breath warmed my ear, her voice soft but insistent. "That's it," she whispered. "Let it happen." His hands guided me, leading me deeper into the moment, slow and unrelenting. I felt completely taken, surrounded. Ella's fingertips traced over my arm, his presence pressing in, anchoring me in something I could no longer resist. The intensity built too fast, every motion sending warmth spiraling through me. Ella's lips brushed against my jaw, her touch firm, deliberate. "Breathe, sweetheart," she purred. "Feel every second of it." I shuddered beneath them, my body tightening, coiling, the pressure rising higher, sharper. Every movement was fluid, controlled, pushing me closer to the edge of something inevitable. Ella's mouth traced over my collarbone, her touch heightening every sensation. "You're stunning like this," she murmured. I barely heard her. I was too lost in it, the warmth, the pull, the steady rhythm driving me forward. I chased it instinctively, caught in the moment, completely overtaken. Ella's lips hovered at my ear, her voice teasing, breathless. "Let go," I gasped, trembled, and then her fingers squeezed mine, grounding me as I shattered. The moment hit in waves, deep, endless, overwhelming. A soft sound escaped me, the release unraveling every last ounce of control. His hold tightened, drawing out the last of it, deep and consuming. Ella's hands remained on mine, steadying me as I spiraled down from the peak. "That's it," she murmured, pressing a lingering kiss to my temple. Everything collapsed into warmth, into breathless stillness. The aftershocks lingered, pulsing softly through me. I sank into the feeling, weightless, completely unraveled. Ella sighed, a lazy, satisfied sound, her fingers still tangled with mine. The silence stretched, heavy, warm, thick with the remnants of everything that had just unfolded. Her nails skimmed across my skin, a slow, teasing afterthought. A soft chuckle escaped her lips. "Told you we'd take care of you." I couldn't move, couldn't even form a coherent thought. I just breathed, fully undone, completely taken. Most people would say no to an offer like this. It goes against everything we're taught, everything we expect. But let's be real, life isn't always so simple, is it? Sometimes the most unexpected paths lead to the most surprising discoveries about ourselves and what we truly desire. Would you take the risk? Or is this a disaster waiting to happen? Let's debate in the comments. I want to hear every take. And if you love this story, don't just leave. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More stories like this are dropping soon, and you definitely don't want to miss out.